Life is not over because you have diabetes. Make the most of what you have. Be grateful. These famous lines were said by the very beautiful and elegant Dale Evans. Diabetes mellitus is defined as a group of metabolic diseases characterized by elevated levels of glucose in the blood resulting from defects of insulin secretion, insulin action, or both. We all know what diabetes is. It is a very important and a very deadly disease. It was indeed extremely deadly and the mortality rate was very high in the pre insulin era. It is noteworthy to note and to know regarding the origin and history of diabetes mellitus. History of diabetes. Ebers Papyrus. The signs and symptoms of diabetes mellitus are evidenced and recorded in as old as 1550 BC in Ebers Papyrus. Ebers Papyrus was found between the legs of a mummy in the Asasif district of the Theban necropolis. The papyrus was purchased in Luxor by Edwin Smith in 1862, who sold it to Egyptologist George Ebers in 1872. Ebers published a facsimile in English and Latin in 1875. It is believed to be the oldest preserved medical document dating from 1552 BC. The Ebers Papyrus links the description of polyuria to Imhotep. It is noteworthy to note that Imhotep was a man of medicine, architecture, and magic, who was a high priest and minister to the pharaoh Djoser, the third dynasty in 3000 BC. Sushruta was an ancient Indian physician and was considered by many as father of surgery as well as father of plastic surgery. In ancient Hindu document by Sushruta in India about 400 BC had described the diabetic syndrome as characterized by a honeyed urine. Sushruta called the affliction Madhumeha based on the sweetness of the urine passed by those afflicted by the ailment. The description of Sahaja Prameha in Sushruta Samhita is quite similar to type 1 diabetes mellitus. In 276 BC, Demetrius of Apamea refined the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus. Apollonius Memphites, or famously known as Apollonius of Memphis, was born at Memphis in Egypt, who lived around in the 3rd century BC and was a follower of Erasistratus. Apollonius of Memphis probably coined the name diabetes in around 230 BC. In Ionian Greek, it means to pass through. Maharshi Charak was one of the principal contributors to Ayurveda, a system of medicine and lifestyle developed in ancient India. He is known as the compiler or editor of the medical treatise Charak Samhita. The description of Jata Prameha in Charak Samhita is also quite similar to type 1 diabetes mellitus. It is said that Sushruta and Charaka even distinguished thin and obese patients. Elenius Galenus or Claudius Galenus, or simply Galen, was a Roman physician, surgeon, and philosopher who studied and delineated the disease further. Arathias of Cappadocia. Arathias of Cappadocia was an ancient Greek physician of 1st century. Arathias of Cappadocia, in his work Acute and Chronic Diseases, coined the term diabetes, which literally meant siphon, that is, to explain the liquefaction of the flesh and bone into the urine. Arathias, in about 150 AD, gave a masterful explanation and described diabetes in a very eminent way that represent the very knowledge that one had up until the 7th century's later half. Arathias' description of diabetes in 150 AD. Diabetes is a wonderful affection, not very frequent among men, being a melting down of the flesh and limbs into urine. Its course is of a cold and humid nature, as in dropsy. The course is the common one, namely the kidneys and the bladder, for the patients never stop making water. But the flow is incessant, as if from the opening of aqueducts. The nature of the disease, then, is chronic, and it takes a long period to form. But the patient is short lived if the constitution of the disease be completely established. For the melting is rapid, the death is speedy. In the 7th century, Chen Chuan, the Chinese physician, in 643 AD, noted and described the symptoms of thirst and sweet urine in diabetes. It is also said that for a long time the condition was described and treated in traditional Chinese medicine as xiao-ke. Paul of Aegina was an Alexandrian physician and surgeon, the last major ancient Greek medical encyclopedist, who wrote Epitome Medica Libriceptum, that is, medical compendium in 7 books. Paul of Aegina described dipsacus, which is a term referring to the tremendous thirst experienced by diabetics, as a weakness of the kidneys combined with excessive moisture production by the body. Avicenna. Avicenna was a very famous Persian physician and philosopher who lived in the 10th century Arabia. Avicenna provided a detailed account on diabetes mellitus in Al-Qanun fit Tibb, or the Canon of Medicine, which is an encyclopedia of medicine in 5 books compiled by him. It was used as a standard medical textbook in the Islamic world and Europe up to 18th century. The canon still plays an important role in Unani medicine. Avicenna documented and described the abnormal appetite, collapse of sexual functions, and the sweet taste of urine in diabetes. In 1425 AD, diabetes first appeared in the English language as the Middle English word diabete. Philippus Aurelius Theophrastus Bombastus von Joachim, or famously who is known as Paracelsus, in the 16th century was a Swiss physician and was considered by many as Martin Luther of medicine. He identified diabetes mellitus as a serious general disorder. Thomas Willis. Thomas Willis was an English doctor who played an important role in anatomy, neurology, psychiatry, as well as a professor of natural philosophy at Oxford and a founding member of the Royal Society. He discovered that the urine of diabetic individuals was sweet. He knew this by testing urine. Thomas Willis coined the term mellitus in Diabetes mellitus. His observations in diabetes formed a chapter of Pharmaceutics Rationalis in 1674. Johann Conrad Brunner was a Swiss anatomist who was most famous for his work in the studies of pancreas and its internal secretions. He knew there was a connection between pancreas and diabetes mellitus, but couldn't find a theoretical link for the role of pancreas in diabetes. In 1709, Johann Conrad Brunner removed the pancreas from dogs and noted that the pancreatomized dogs displayed extreme thirst and polyuria. His experiments could probably well be considered as the first ones on the internal secretion of pancreas. He published his findings on pancreatic research in a treatise titled Experiments Nova Circa Pancreas, Ecedit Diatribe de Limba and Genuino Pancreatis Uso. Matthew Dobson was an English physician and an experimental physiologist. In 1776, he demonstrated that diabetic persons actually excrete sugar in the urine, which he declared after he found a crystalline material by his experiments which appeared and tasted like brown sugar. The role of pancreas in diabetes was first suggested by Thomas Cowley in 1788, when he reported as a singular case report of a detailed description of post-mortem findings of a singular case of diabetes, in which he reported on a shriveled pancreas of a diabetic person with calculi in autopsy. This might have been the first published reference to the pancreas in relation to human diabetes, but no deductions were drawn regarding the disease etiology. John Rollo was a Scottish military surgeon. John Rollo, aided by William Cruikshank, devised the first rational approach to dietary treatment of the disease by shifting the then current view that primary seat of the disorder was the kidney to a view that it's being the gastrointestinal tract. He also emphasized that excretion of sugar occurred in diabetics. William Cumberland Cruikshank was a Scottish military surgeon and chemist. He worked with Dr. John Rollo in 1790 in Woolwich and also was mentioned in Rollo's book regarding some of Cruikshank's discoveries on diabetes and dietary treatment of diabetes mellitus. They indicated a dietary treatment high in protein with fats and low in carbs, which changed only with involvement of insulin. Both of them concluded that it was only secondary to the saccharification of vegetable matter did glycosuria occur. Antoine Lavoisier. Antoine Lavoisier was a French nobleman and chemist. He was widely known as the father of modern chemistry. He invented the concept of respiratory quotient and also measured oxygen consumption during rest, food ingestion, and work by the help of colorimetric studies. Unfortunately, to a great dismay, he was sentenced to death by guillotine during the French Revolution. So, this is a statue of Antoine Lavoisier. Baron Justus Freiherr von Liebig was a German scientist who made major contributions to the agricultural and biological chemistry and was considered as one of the founders of organic chemistry. He advanced the physiologic chemistry by determining carbohydrates, fats, and proteins are the three categories of food. He showed that carbohydrates and fats were used as fuel and proteins as the building components of body. Also, he determined oxygen levels which were needed to burn the different classes of food, as well as the energy quantity that was released as heat after burning of food. Karl von Voigt was a German physiologist and dietitian, and who was also a student of Baron Justus von Liebig, who described his teacher's works and who also took forward his teacher's work. Max Rubner. Max Rubner was a German physiologist and hygienist and was a student of Karl Voigt. Rubner gave a definite proof regarding the conservations of energy held for living systems for humans. Graham Lusk. Graham Lusk was an American physiologist and nutritionist. He also helped in the research to more precisely study metabolic activities and to apply the results to clinical and theoretical problems. William Wilbur Owen Atwater. Wilbur Owen Atwater, an American chemist, also known as the father of modern nutrition research and educationalist. He was also a student of Karl Voigt. Along with Benedict, confirmed the findings of Max Rubner regarding the principle of the conservation of energy in humans. Adolf Kussmaul was a German physician and a leading clinician of his time. Adolf Kussmaul was active in literature also, and he is regarded as one of the creators of the term Biedermeier. Adolf Kussmaul described the different, peculiar, and unique respiration as being deep and having long pauses between expiration and inspiration in 1874. It was the mid 1800s. It was a time in which diabetes mellitus was described with post-mortem findings of diseased, atrophic, or stone-filled pancreas. Claude Bernard was a French physiologist who believed the pancreas to have a role in diabetes. In his hypothesis to block all the pancreatic secretions, he ligated the pancreatic ducts of dogs and in some cases injected the ducts with oil or paraffin. Bernard thought that the atrophy of the gland was complete as a few strands of lifeless scar tissues, as believed by him, remained in the end, though the experimental animal didn't show glycosuria or any indication of diabetes mellitus. Claude Bernard also discovered that glucose was derived in part from glycogen as a secretion of the liver as a central organ in diabetes, and explained how a diabetic patient whose liver was scarred by the end stages of cirrhosis might be cured by his hyperglycemia and glycosuria. Claude Bernard's historic findings of glycosuria after puncture of the fourth ventricle created mass attention to the point that alterations in the central nervous system could be etiologically related to diabetes mellitus. Moritz Kauf was a German physiologist. He also performed experiments similar to Claude Bernard for pancreas relation to diabetes, but results were equally negative. This anti-pancreatic viewpoint had become immensely popular with the topmost physiologists of that era. Apollinaire Bouchardat was a French pharmacist and hygienist who was born in Isle-sur-Seine, who was also an early pioneer of fermentation and a professor of public health and a trained organic chemist. He studied diabetes mellitus and wrote his findings in his 1875 book De la glycosurie au diabète sucré. He was a follower of Dr. John Rouleau's dietary regimen in treating diabetes mellitus, and also he encouraged hard physical labor, having observed the repairing effects of muscles work on glycosuria and hyperglycemia. Apollinaire Bouchardat's clinical experience enabled him the vision to differentiate and distinguish at least two different types of diabetes mellitus. The first one in younger persons, which was the severe type and which responded in poor manner to the regimen. The second one in older and obese persons, for whom his prescribed therapy of diet and physical exertion worked wonderfully. Now, Etienne Lencroix. He was a French physician who was born in Bressy, Briaris, who was a pioneer in various contributions in the understanding of diabetes mellitus. Lencroix, along with his students, came to identical etiological conclusions as with Apollinaire Bouchardat. Etienne Lencroix introduced the terms diabète maigre, meaning diabetes of thin, and diabète gras, meaning diabetes of fat, for the two clinical forms of diabetes. I would like to mention here that Apollinaire Bouchardat also concluded that it was the diabetes having pancreatic origin which was more severe in form, as based on the clinical forms and presentations and the post-mortem findings of the two types of diabetic patients. Arnold Adolph Barthold. He was a German scientist and a notable physiologist who was also a pioneer of endocrinology. It is worth mentioning that Barthold's study of castration in 1849 gave newly found vigor and strength to the concept that the body possesses glands that deliver their products directly to the blood, that is, ductless or blood glands. Now, Charles Edward Brown Sequard. He was a Mauritian physiologist and a neurologist who in 1850 became the first to describe the Brown-Sequard syndrome. The experimental ablation of the adrenal gland by Charles Brown Sequard in 1856, along with the then clinical description of Addison's disease in 1849, cemented the concept of ductless or blood glands. Joseph Friedrich Freiherr von Mering was a German physician who was born in Cologne and was a most famous pioneer in his work on diabetes. Oskar Minkowski was a German physician and physiologist who held a professorship at the University of Breslau and is also most famous for his work on diabetes and pancreas. Joseph von Mering and Oskar Minkowski published their work on diabetes mellitus in the Archive for Experimental Pathology and Pharmacology. It was clearly demonstrated that the pancreas was a gland of internal secretion and that a small portion of the gland, when implanted under the skin of a freshly depancreatized dog, prevented the appearance of hyperglycemia until the implanted tissue was removed or had degenerated spontaneously. These findings were even confirmed by Hedon and co-workers in France. Paul Langerhans. Paul Langerhans was a German pathologist, physiologist, and biologist who was born in Berlin. He is credited with the discovery of cells that secrete insulin, and the cells are named after him as the islets of Langerhans. Gustave Edouard Laguize. He was a French pathologist and histologist born in Dijon, France. Gustave Edouard Laguize did extensive research and focused on the forgotten original observations of Paul Langerhans and gave the conclusion that collections of interacinar cells, which he designated the islets of Langerhans, as a gland of secretion within the pancreas. William Bayliss was an eminent English physiologist. Ernest Sterling was also an eminent British physiologist. William Bayliss and Ernest Sterling introduced the term hormone to designate a specific chemical material elaborated by a ductless gland into the duct that is conveyed to other parts of the body and exerts an effect upon its target tissues. It is worth noting that Wilhelm Heiberg of Copenhagen in 1906 developed a special method for counting the islets and found that the number was consistently low in individuals with diabetes mellitus. In 1909, Jean de Meyer suggested the term insulin to the pancreatic secretion that was lacking in the diabetic state to denote the origin from the insula of Langerhans. Sir Edward Albert Sharpe Scheffer was an English physiologist. He is regarded as a founder of endocrinology. In 1916, Sir Edward Albert Sharpe Scheffer theorized that the islets of Langerhans must secrete a single substance which governed carbohydrate metabolism, and he suggested the name insulin for the suspected internal secretion of pancreas. In the era between 1895 and 1921, the research work in diabetes proceeded in two distinct ways. The first one led to the careful study of the islets that enabled to the fact that islets of Langerhans also produced several hormones as we know of now. The second path led to the studies which were diverted to search and find insulin itself. Eugene Lindsay Oppe. He was an American physician and a pathologist. Eugene Lindsay Oppe studied and observed the consistent morphological alterations in the islets of Langerhans of pancreas in diabetic patients. Eugene Lindsay Oppe described the hyalinization in islets of Langerhans of the diabetic individuals. This hyalinization was found to be the amyloid frequently found in islets of Langerhans of type 2 diabetic individuals. This further linked type 2 diabetes with the islets of Langerhans. Ernest Lyman Scott was an American physiologist and diabetes researcher who carried out the earliest logical and successful series of experiments on depancreatized dogs and also came close to the mark of extracting insulin. His thesis was published in American Journal of Physiology in 1912. by Anton Coulson. Ernest Lehman Scott came very close to the mark of extracting insulin. Israel Kleiner was a pioneering physiologist in his era. Israel Kleiner carried out a series of experiments on depancreatized dogs at Rockefeller, and he proved that pancreas secretes a substance that lowers blood sugar. He even added that if the agent could be isolated, then it could be therapeutically used after isolation. But the next vital steps, that is extraction and application of insulin in the treatment of diabetes, never happened with him, though he did came way close to the mark of extracting insulin. George Ludwig Zoellger was a German physician of Jewish ancestry. George Ludwig Zoellger created a pancreatic extract and gave it the name acrometrol. He injected acrometrol in dying patients and saw a visible improvement in the patient's condition at first, but the patient died when the acrometrol was gone or exhausted. Zoellger in 1911 filed for an American patent for a pancreas preparation suitable for the treatment of diabetes mellitus. But Zoellger failed to provide with distinct results, and henceforth the German military seized his laboratory during the Second World War. No doubt he came pretty close to the mark of extracting insulin. Dr. Nicolae Constantin Paulescu was a Romanian physiologist, professor of medicine, as well as a politician. Nicola Constantin Paulescu is most famous for his work on diabetes mellitus, including patenting pancrein. Nicolae Constantin Paulescu patented pancrein, which is a pancreatic extract containing insulin, which was an extract of bovine pancreas in salted water. Although this distinguished Romanian physiologist produced a pancreatic extract that fulfilled all the criteria for insulin in animal experimentation, but he did not succeed in showing its application in human diabetes mellitus. Thus, the significance of his massive contribution was appreciated, but only much later. So, he came pretty close to extracting insulin, and yes, later on, his contribution were very much appreciated. Sir Frederick Grant Banting. Sir Frederick Grant Banting, who was born on November 14th, 1891, was a Canadian medical scientist, physician, a great painter, military official, Nobel laureate, and a great war hero, who is most famous as the principal discoverer of insulin and its therapeutic potential. Sir Frederick Grant Banting is best remembered as the principal discoverer of insulin. Later, he also became Canada's first professor of medical research at the University of Toronto. He also got many awards, such as Reeves Award, Military Cross, and many things. Charles Herbert Best. Dr. Charles Herbert Best, who was born on 27th February 1899, was an American-Canadian medical scientist and one of the discoverers of insulin. Dr. John James Rickard MacLeod was a Scottish biochemist and physiologist. He is noted for his role in the discovery and isolation of insulin with Banting and Best. James Bartram Collip was a Canadian biochemist who was a part of the discovery of insulin by Banting and Best. Banting and Best did a series of experiments on dogs And starting in August 1921, they demonstrated a significant lowering of the elevated glucose level in deep pancreatomized dogs with their dog pancreas extract. The hormone was termed iletin by the young investigators. MacLeod also shared his laboratory for the experiment and also gave them advice. James Collip gave the biochemical expertise that was needed. Frederick Grant Bunting, a young surgeon, John MacLeod, a professor of physiology, Charles Best, a graduate student, and James Bartram Collip, a skilled chemist, succeeded during the years 1921 and 1922 in fulfilling all of the criteria for a therapeutically active insulin and produced the first useful and consistently successful insulin preparation for the treatment of human diabetes mellitus. Thus, they ultimately established the pancreatic etiology of diabetes. 1923 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for the discovery of insulin. Sir Frederick Grant Banting and Dr. J.J. MacLeod were jointly awarded the 1923 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for the discovery of insulin. His valuable contributions helped to treat diabetes mellitus, which used to be a dreaded fatal disease till then. Sir Banting was but disappointed to share the prize with MacLeod, whom he felt was less deserving of the prize than Dr. Charles Best. Sir Banting really thought that it was Dr. Charles Best who deserved the prize because he worked really hard with him. It was him for the first 3 months at least, when MacLeod went somewhere else, that they were doing it. Sir Banting eventually decided to share his prize money with Dr. Charles Best. Sir Banting even didn't went to receive the Nobel Prize himself in the Nobel Prize giving ceremony. So he really had very much respect for Dr. Charles Best. So the relationship is really a true one between Dr. Charles Best and Sir Frederick Grant Banting. I would like to note and I would like to say that Dr. MacLeod also shared half of his Nobel Prize money with James Collip. So anyways, the pancreatic etiology was finally established. Now this is an insulin timetable of 1921 through the present. I have taken this table from the book Jocelyn's Diabetes Mellitus 14th edition. It is adapted from Haycock P. History of Insulin Therapy in Scades D.S. Santiago J5, Skylar J.S. Riza R.A. Intensive Insulin Therapy. So some important marks have been highlighted here, such as in 1921, pancreatic extracts demonstrated to lower blood sugar levels in experimental diabetic dogs. In 1922, insulin was first used in humans. In 1923, isoelectric point produced larger quantities of higher potency insulin from animal sources, enough to satisfy commercial supply. In 1925, first international insulin unit was defined, and U40 by 80 insulins became available. In 1926, crystallized amorphous insulin aids to insulin stability. In 1936, addition of zinc to protamine insulin to create a prolonged duration of action of the hormone. In 1939, globin insulin with a shorter duration of action than PZI developed. In 1950, neutral protamine hagedorn insulin developed and controlled amount of protamine by Nordisk company. In 1951, lente insulins developed by acetate buffering of zinc insulin. In 1955, structure of insulin was delineated by Sanger and co-workers. In 1960, radioimmunoassay of insulin becomes available. In 1967, proinsulin was discovered by Steiner. In 1967 again, first pancreas transplant was done by Kelly, Lelehai and co-workers. In 1971, insulin receptors were defined by Roth, Kutrekaos and co-workers. In 1972, U100 insulin introduced to promote better accuracy in administration. In 1973, small dose intravenous insulin treatment for acidosis emerges as alternative to large dose subcutaneous treatment. In 1976, C-peptide becomes a clinical tool. In 1977, insulin gene cloned by Ulrich Rothar Goodman and others. In 1978, purified single peak pork insulin introduced. In 1978, open loop insulin delivery system was clinically introduced by Pickup and co-workers. In 1981, insulin receptor kinase activity was described. In 1982, recombinant human insulin becomes available by Lilly company. In 1989, first islet transplants was done by Lassie and co-workers. In 1990, insulin pen delivery devices became popular. In 1996, short-acting insulin analog was introduced called as insulin Lespro by Humalog company. In 2000, Edmonton protocol improved results of islet transplantation. In 2001, long-acting insulin analog introduced insulin Glargine by Lantus Aventis company. Elliot Proctor Joslin. It is worth mentioning that Dr. Elliot Proctor Joslin was the first diabetologist and the founder of Joslin Diabetic Center in America. He was the first to advocate to teach patients to take care of their own diabetes. That is, diabetes self-management education was first established by him or was first emphasized by him. He also pioneered in glucose management, who identified that it is tight glucose control that lead to fewer and less extreme complications. Leonard Thompson. I thought that I should also say a bit about Leonard Thompson. Leonard Thompson was born on 17 July 1908 and he died on 20th of April 1935. Leonard Thompson was the very first person in whom insulin was injected for the very first time ever as a treatment for type 1 diabetes mellitus. So, Leonard Thompson received his first injection of insulin in Toronto, Ontario on 11 January 1922 when he was just 14 years old. In 2010, the American Diabetes Association recommended using the glycosylated hemoglobin or HbA1c to diagnose diabetes and prediabetes. Glycosylated hemoglobin or HbA1c is an important indicator of long-term glycemic control with the ability to reflect the cumulative glycemic history of the preceding 2 to 3 months. It is a form of hemoglobin that is chemically linked to sugar, and it not only provides a reliable measure of chronic hyperglycemia, that is elevation of blood sugar, but also correlates well with the risk of long-term diabetes. Well, this is my own creation. When I was doing my MD in physiology, then we had to prepare a life history of any one of the scientists as an assignment, and I chose Sir Bentley. I started my MD in 2014. I passed out in 2017. I created this in 2016. It is still in my college, Guwahati Medical College. This is a picture of Sir Frederick Grant Banting with Dr. Charles Herbert Best with a dog when they were trying to discover or trying to see for the insulin themselves. It's a historic photo and I respect them both. The Ebers Papyrus. Insulin is not a cure for diabetes. It is a treatment. It enables the diabetic to burn sufficient carbohydrates so that proteins and fats may be added to the diet in sufficient quantities to provide energy for the economic burdens of life. These famous lines were said by Dr. Frederick Grant Banting, or should I say Sir Frederick Grant Banting. This is Dr. Himanshu Shekhar Gogoi. So thanks and namaskar. And you are watching Namaskar Physiology. Kindly take care and take care of your parents, take care of yourself, and be hopeful. Thank you.